easily score the upwind point, no problem for the finish.
So we streamed GB Grandmasters earlier in the week, and they didn't turn it over till the 17th point of the game.
Wow.
And this time they've turned it over in the first. So not quite the same conversion ratio that they would have liked going into this. Big bladey pull goes up from the Finns. They're going to let it hit the ground. Forward now, here's Stu Mitchell. There's a player on this near sideline. Wide open in plenty of space is Rob McGowan. Dishing it forward, Bolton. Back to McGowan. Plenty of space on that side. Swinging it, here's Bolton. And again to Mitchell. Looking at the end zone, trying to zing it all the way across. Has to come towards the disc, but does keep it alive. Does Rob McGowan. There's a player right open at the back, and a little high release. Is going to find Rick Shippey. It's the first time he touched the disc all point, but it's the point that it's the catch that mattered in the end zone for 1-all.
Wow, I'm so impressed. I'm so ready for the Masters division. Haven't had much chance to watch the other divisions here at EBUC, and the Masters is definitely the one to look out for. Just bringing all the experience, playing with the wind and against it. Very few turnovers. I would even say, you know, that they just play sort of better than the regular divisions.
And it's almost not a surprise, because this GB Grandmasters team, they've got a combined 361 playing years, 50 national titles, 54 European titles, and 4 world titles, which is just
unbelievable.
It's just obscene. And that's the experience that you only get with these divisions. I mean, this Finnish team is experienced as well. I was having a look at some of the player surveys that they filled in for us, and they've been around for a long old time. And there's some players on this team who actually have medalled before at previous World Championship events. Timo Olvio came second at the World Ultimate Club Championships back in 1999, a full 20 years ago. So they're not a team that's short of experience. And you see there as well the Finnish flag fluttering in the background, the wind very strong at the moment. And Remo gets into the middle, just a simple drop from Ruhiainen. Ben Rolfe picks it up, wangs it deep immediately, just a little bit underthrown. And Wayne Davey fell over as he tried to come back towards the disc. He's Rod with it on the sideline. Putela looking downfield. Good force by Dave Bixler. The disc is going deep, and it's going to go out of that far sideline. That's one of the things that we've seen a lot throughout this tournament, is the wind pushing discs out of that far sideline.
That's right, Benji. If you do want to go for that OI forehand, you got to aim for the outside of the field, sort of towards the commentary booth, and otherwise, you know, this is what it's going to end up like.
So, been a little bit shaky from both sides early on. We're going to see the GBD line offense get back to work. Rolfe gets the disc underneath. There's an option here in the center. It's Rob Whitehouse looking around, trying to find the cutter to isolate. Coming underneath for a little short pass is Dave Grayson. Wayne Davey now centers it. Bixler, he finds Grayson. Underneath, wide open in plenty of spaces, Rob Whitehouse. And that's a beautiful pass to Wayne Davey for the GB break and a 2-1 lead. Pretty clinical stuff there. That's at that final time round from GB.
Finland doing a little bit of poaching in the back, in the end zone, leaving men open for the in-cuts. And that's the first break of the game.
It's going GB's way. GB almost certainly the favourites in this tournament, undefeated going in. They've dispatched all their opponents fairly comfortably. They beat Portugal 13-1. Germany was their closest game. That was the game we streamed 13-6. They beat France 13-5 and Sweden 13-2. The Finns have had a little up and down time. They beat Belgium 13-5 and they beat Germany 11-7, but they lost to Sweden 12-9 and had a pretty, has to be said, pretty ugly game earlier today. They lost 6-4 to France, which on the beach is a very low scoreline, but the wind was a bit stronger during the middle of the day when they were playing that game. Here's Oivio. Takes the dump off now on the far sideline. Asikainen shoots it deep over the head and over the outstretched arm of Timur Oviol as well. Rolf centres it. Mike Palmer. No, not that one, the other one. Here's Dan Berry. Looking downfield to cut it on this near side, freeing himself. Here's Mike Palmer looking into the end zone to the big bucket hands of Dave Seeley. Got a very wide wingspan and large hands, and it disc nestled sweetly between them for another GB break and 3-1. They've got a bit more clinical now. It just took them a little while to get going, but they seem a bit more comfortable now.
That's right. The Finns coming into the game with a shorter roster, even including a female player in the currently men's division.
Yeah, Pia Heithbacher. She's the first player to play on a Finnish men's national team in 49 years, which is quite something. And obviously, traditionally these are, as well, I mean, they're called men's divisions, but they are open divisions. Females are allowed to play as well, and it's good to see that rather than let a player who wants to play and is able and has the ability to play stay at home.
And her ultimate hero is her husband. How cute is that?
Isn't that sweet? Big layout D underneath from the head of UKU, one and only Cy Hill. Picking up immediately, looking for a double happiness of sorts. Going to roll a lovely around break, just sitting up beautifully for Dave Bixler, and 4-1 now to GB. When they get on a roll, they are so difficult to stop.
Look at that big smile on Cy's face.
A man who's done so much for the ultimate community in Great Britain and elsewhere around the world. It's always good to see him strut his stuff on the pitch, because as we've seen, he and the rest of his compatriots are no slouch on the sand.
And being a number 5 myself, I do have a special relationship with every other 5, so.
Dave Bixler catching the goal there. He's the only player on the GB team who hasn't registered an assist yet this tournament. Everyone else has got it. There are obviously some players who you see more involved than others, but they spread the stats evenly across the team, and it means it's so difficult to stop, because you can't isolate one particular player and say that's their main threat, because they're all incredibly capable.
Well, the Finns will have one more go on their offense, this time going downwind. Captain number 11, Arimo, is going to receive the pole. Receive more like pickup from the stands.
Yeah, hit the sand, and he was happy to let that one roll out the back of the end, and he's going to walk it to the front where Paul Atkins is ready to set the mark on. Finn's going with a side stack to this near side, and one player isolated in space on the far side, and he gets it, is Juri Rohiainen. Swung into the middle for Santila. Santila looking around.
Bit of switching downfield by GB.
Yeah, trying to conserve as much energy as possible, and I think he was looking for Santila, but he just didn't see that throw coming at all, and it's a free turnover for Great Britain. Shipley picks it up. He's already got a goal this game. Here's Davey. Palmer finds Atkins now. Looking for an inside, overthrew Shipley. There was another laying out player who tried to keep it alive but he wasn't able to do that either.
Good awareness by Pinthila.
So now we're going to see Finland come to work again. That's a nice lower round. Sits up on the wind a little bit. Comfortable for Ruhiainen to catch. Now nice outstretched hand. Brings that one in. Reut has it. Comes underneath. Big bid comes from Rick Shipley. I think that Santila had got that in his hands beforehand.
It seems like the turnover will stand, though.
Maybe Santila felt that he just didn't have control. So good work by Shipley to get in there and disrupt the flow of the disc. See that there on the replay. And now GB going to give it back immediately, just to throw a little bit too high for Rob McGowan. Not the cleanest we've seen this GB side play, but that's not necessarily a surprise given how strong the wind is at the moment. All that row of flags in that stand behind us, looking resplendent in the wind. High release there, really well caught by Reut. McGowan bids, can't get it. Reut has it again now. Looking at the end zone. Tries to blade it over the top. Oh! That's a cheeky veteran throw. And Tapio Arimo lays out for the goal.
Beautiful. And the captain finally converting for his team. And the D-line can get on. We have seen a zone defense from the Finnish team, which is a great choice when you're trying to include a female player. She can make herself a lot more useful that way, I think.
Yeah, especially someone who's more of my stature, not necessarily particularly tall. This is quite a tall and larger, I think we should say, Grandmasters team. I think when you get to that age, you're kind of allowed to be, but it means that you're kind of lessening those physical mismatches and trying to play to their strengths. So as you mentioned, they do come out in that zone look. Have it on the far sideline with Bolton. Looking for a swing. All the way over the top. Lovely overhead throw to Cy Hill. And he's going to blade it. Oh, it just took the wind a little bit, but Rob Whitehouse read it well and got underneath it for a 5-2 lead. Nice bit of style there from the GB Grandmasters.
It will be quite difficult to stop those downwind throws with the zone. If they could eventually use the zone for GB going upwind, then I think there might be a bit of a chance for it to work. But this was just too easy for all the GB players, just casually throwing over the first cup with interesting and cheeky throw choices.
You see there that hammer over the top, gets it relatively flat, doesn't give the wind a chance to hit that bottom edge.
Just for the enjoyment of the crowds.
And the GB players were jostling each other a little bit earlier, mentioning the fact that they will have friends and family watching at home, and there's even if the stands aren't necessarily at their fullest. Arimo finds Ruhiainen. Comes underneath our brilliant, smart poach block from Dave Bixler. He's got the disc now. Looks around, finds Seeley, fakes that inside. There's a swing available if he wants it. Instead, waits for that cut to develop underneath from Dan Berry. Berry finds Bixler into the end zone. A rolling blade. Catch sliding onto his knees is Dave Barnard. It's 6-2 now for GB.
Yeah, that around backhand's got to be stopped on that sideline. That is the most dangerous throw. And exactly the way to score, so it's difficult to, you know, add anything
when it's so clinical, yeah.
to the play of GB when they're doing almost everything right.
So you'll notice I'm saying the name Dave a lot, which is kind of understandable for British men of a certain vintage, shall we say. And they count themselves as 5 members of Team Dave. Dave Barnard, Dave Grayson, Dave Bixler, Dave Seeley, and they're kind of including Wayne Davey in that as well. But I think that last one's cheating, if you ask me.
That is definitely cheating.
But at least
that's still impressive.
4 out of what is not a massive roster. It's probably shows that it was once upon a time it was an extremely popular name. The throw pops up.
Oh, just out of reach. That was a great layout. That was so close.
Hacebacker got very close to it, especially under pressure from a bidding Rob McGowan, a player probably twice their size, and he just out-muscles and out-physicals her to that front cone for a 7-2 half-time lead.
She did do a great job for the majority of the cut. She was right on him. And on that catch, it was very, very tight. And I suppose it doesn't add to the
there's only so much you can do when you're matched up against a player who's kind of that much more physically imposing than you are. And as someone who is on the shorter side myself, I can
relate.
Absolutely sympathise. Yeah. So we're just going to see that throw again on the replay. Just starts that cut up the middle and then just has that extra turn of space. Probably this is one of the advantages as well of having those slightly longer legs. You can churn up the sand a bit more quickly as well. So while we're in this halftime break, the GB Grandmasters have sent us a little list of people at home who might be watching various progeny. Obviously, when you're of Grandmasters age, you probably have a few children running around at home. So for Daniel, Jennifer, Sophie, Megan, Bronnie, Ned, Barney, Holly, Jake, Emily, Sam, Joanna and Caitlin all watching at home. At least I hope you're watching at home rather than doing something sensible like homework. That's so boring. Watch this instead. Cy Hill has it now, just holding it for a little bit. The other Cy Week swings it back to Cy Hill. Oh, cheeky scuba over the top from Cy Hill. Bolton has it now, he's going to hold it for a bit. Hill's in space, going to crash into that cup, get that little short backhand pass. He's going to go for a hammer. Oh, nearly short of Cy Weeks. Had to do a bit of work to get there. GB playing with flair. Cy Hill's wide open on the far side if they can find him. He's in acres of space. Instead, they're going to try and hammer, and what a layout grab! Defying his age. A fantastic play from Great Britain. Trying to get a glimpse of the shirt number so I can give him full credit. Doing a very good job of walking with his side to us on the wrong side. Just turn around a little bit slightly.
11. Was it?
I think so.
Now we got confused.
It looks like it's number 8, Paul Atkins. Took us a while, but he got there eventually. Fantastic play, getting low and scooping that disc just before it hit the golden sand here in Portimao.
Well, I just want to give a quick heads up on that catch Bolton made down on that nearer sideline, where the disc went, picked up a little bit of wind, but just moved so quickly upwards, but he still got a safe clap catch on that one. Like, I'm like, how did you know?
This is the advantage of clap catching. You just give yourself a little bit more margin for error rather than going for it one-handed, where that slight variations in the wind can hit those fingertips and bounce out. Great pull from GB. Pins Finland deep in their own end zone. They're still working around here. Definitely Callahan country for the Brits, looking deep for number 40, Timo Ovio.
It wasn't a bad call. The player had some separation for the deep shot.
And a relatively high score as well. Got to get it away from that end zone.
That's right.
And the lefty Rolf is going to pick it up for the Brits once the disc is eventually retrieved from the stands. I think it's got lodged a little bit under some seats.
And we will have Ovio on the mark.
See if he can make amends for not being able to read in that deep shot, although it was never really catchable. Here's Seeley dishing it off to Rolf, looking around, trying to manipulate cutters upfield, going with a little high release, using that leftiness to good use. Not the cleanest catch by Whitehouse, but he gets his body underneath it, pretty comfortable there. Big around break, looking for Rolf, and just a simple arrow of a left hand right down the middle to big Dave Seeley for an extension of that GB lead in 9-2.
Did you see Barry running, clearing sort of around the field, out of bounds, just making sure he doesn't take away any options for his teammates, and the defender just following him there. Some of that
I think we'd call it veteran savvy. Rather than clog the pit space on the pitch, just get out of the way any way you can.
You don't see that happen too much, but what a smart way. I mean, there was a tight space in the corner where the disc still could have gone, and he made sure it's not clogged.
Yeah, sorry, there's just a little replay of that earlier fantastic catch from Paul Atkins off that slightly dicey hammer. And this swing from Whitehouse to Rolf, and he probably won't have an easier assist this tournament, just straight down the middle of the end zone. Barnard with the pull for the Brits. Bit of outside in shape on that. Captain Adrimo Fields. Looking for a deep shot perhaps, he's going to take it. Bix is underneath it, read it all the way, sat underneath the receiver, backed him, not given a lot of space to work with. Here's Barnard now, finds Mitchell. Bixler, looking around. Pivots, gets that flick off to Mitchell. Bixler's in plenty of space. They're doing a very good job of moving the disc quickly. The Finnish side look a little bit gassed. Bixler motors towards the front of the end zone. This is going to have to go backwards though, and tight pressure.
Foul on the catch.
Yeah, Putila got a hand in there, but not quickly enough, and Mitchell will retain possession here. Cuts coming out of the end zone, fakes at one, looks at the around to Bixler instead, dumps back to Bolton.
Finland doing a good job taking away the around backhand, which is so dangerous.
Just as you mention it.
And just as I mention it.
Curse of the commentator, it happens to the best of us. Bixler with his second around backhand assist. This time Stu Mitchell is the gleeful recipient for a 10-2 GB lead, and after a really ropey start, they haven't turned the disc over in about 6 points, which is just devastating clinicity from Great Britain.
Still a great defensive effort by Finland. I especially enjoyed the layout Mark Roth try to get there on the upline throw. The only thing I got down for him is that Rod, they sometimes call him the Rottweiler.
It's not a bad nickname, that, and you saw some of that ferocious tenacity there trying to get the disc back on defense, and the Finns did slow GB down. They had to get a number of passes in the red zone before they could finally jam it in the jam hole, if you will. But
that's right.
Against a team of this quality, sometimes, okay, we've got to slow them down, and they're not necessarily going to make mistakes, but if we can make it more difficult for them, especially in these conditions, that's never a bad idea.
So the GB squad having extra 4 players, it seems like, against Finland. So I do feel that it does make a difference. We're on the 3rd day of our tournament, and, you know, I'm sure that not just in the Masters division or Grandmaster division, the fatigue can set in slightly, and it can make the decisive difference.
Yeah, not quite as many games as some of the other divisions, but I believe both of these sides have played already today, so... And the Finns have actually played twice today, so they've obviously probably, even with the shorter rosters, kind of conspired against them somewhat.
Some of them said that their biggest moment was beating Germany here in Portimao, so... Oh.
Nice D there. Getting in the mix of things once more is Cy Hill. We see him do so many things off the pitch. Couldn't quite do anything on it there. Just rushed that one a little bit. Looking for Rob Whitehouse.
You can see Cy discussing with number 7, Rohiainen, because there was a little bit of contact before the throw, but that's the kind of situation where you do get fouled, but you still want to get the throw off. And, you know, then you overthrow, and it's just, you cannot call it after.
Yeah, decided in the end it didn't have enough of an effect on the actual throw. Oh, big layout D comes flying through from Cy Weeks. GB pick it up quickly. Weeks has it now, catching it off that dump dish. Big expansive fake trying to move these Finnish defenders around. Just about squeezes it through to Cy Hill. Oh, the scuba from Cy Hill is absolutely delicious. What a way to open up that space. Cy Hill is feeling it here on the show pitch for an 11-2 lead.
There is not much more you can do, really. You know that is the easiest direction to throw into. You try to take it away by making it the break side, and then he just, you know, lifts his arm up and throws a scuba. He
has so many thankless tasks as the head of UKU, and seen all over at pretty much any major UK tournament. You see him do even all the grunt work that you wouldn't expect someone that high to do. He marks out the pitches, he marks out the end zones. You see him going around filling up water.
And that's what we love to see, right? Great players, but still managing to contribute to the community.
And it's always good when you actually see them playing, because you forget that, wow, this guy was a pretty good I say was. I mean, still is a pretty good ultimate player. Even if maybe his best days are a little behind him, won't hold that against him.
It's so difficult, though, now that everybody has their own division. I think those categories eventually will gain more recognition, hopefully.
When you get teams of this quality playing, it's only going to get more people watching. Here is Roth catching that sultry inside-out look. Ruhiainen finds Butila. Arimo finds Rohiainen once more. Try and look at a dump. Sneaks that one past Danbury. The break, it just goes right through the little post box that Santila gave him. Special delivery, just shot right through.
And how many have we seen of those? It's just that quick downwind pass where the disc is just gone before you know it.
Just picks up a little bit more speed than you expect, and you get that horrible sound of two hands clapping.
Oh, but unexpected turnover by GB.
Yeah, after he made such an excellent catch on that hammer earlier, Paul Atkins gives a little bit of a gift there to the Finns.
Great chance for the Finns to take this one in.
Arimo looking downfield with a lovely, delicious around break. Beautiful throw to Jiri Rohiainen.
Go ahead, sorry.
So he's got 2 of Finton's 3 goals. Obviously, they're probably too little too late for them, but it's nice to see that they can still get it done on occasion.
I really like Arimo's breaks. He's a tall guy, but you don't see him stretching out overly to the break side. He just, gets low, and with a little snap of his wrist, just gets it around the well-prepared and well-skilled and experienced defender. He started playing Ultimate because of spirit of the game, and it was a fun sport. He's been playing for 28 years, and the highlight of his career was the first Finnish championship in Ultimate in 1994. How old were you, Benji?
I was, depending on when it was, we'll say it was the end of the season. We'll say it was. We'll say I was 2 years old. Here's this GB offense going to work. Joe Bolton, downfield, sliding down onto his knees, making the catch and throwing from those very same knees is Cy Hill, finding Stu Mitchell for his second goal of the game. GB on the precipice now of a victory, 12-3 up.
Well, and the other part I really enjoy is how excited these guys are, And I do understand the feeling of years of experience together, years of playing together, and you're basically just having a fun time with your friends, knowing them so well, knowing exactly where they're going to be, knowing that they've got your back. And that's just I think that's the type of experience that keeps these people coming back for more.
So on our way home from the pitches yesterday, we bumped into the GB Grandmasters team. Shall we say, enjoying the experiences of the various beachfront bars along the...
Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, and they seem to think they'd have a pretty good shot in the normal Masters division. I wouldn't necessarily bet against them, the strength of performances that they've showed. Looking underneath, trying to fly through with the layout is Santila, but he couldn't get it done. The big Arimo on the mark. Getting those arms wide is Dave Seeley. He finds Bixler. Now Davey. Wayne Davey pivots, get a little bit of a bump on a mark, happy to just play through it. Long tool, Dave Seeley overshoots that one, and the Finns are going to get another chance at this one. Looking for Dave Barnard. Is this the Dave line? Have they played they've played the Dave line on us? They've only done and played the Dave line. The audacity.
Well, both teams need to clean up their forehands a little bit. They are difficult throws in both directions. They might do better slightly with lefty backhands if they've got them.
Oh, they've got them. Don't he? I will guarantee that anyone at this division just tried to sneak that one through. Big Dave Barnard, a high release flick is going to sit. Oh, it's going to be well tipped as well by Yanni Putila. A little bit too cheeky that time from Dave Bixler. You can see Arimo pick it up once more. You mentioned about how he's got these fantastic around breaks. Something I like about them is he doesn't show them too early. He'll maybe look at the backhand side of it, but he doesn't show the full length of his pivot. So when he does show it, the force doesn't quite think it's going to go that far around. It's difficult to stop.
And maybe we'll get another chance to have a good look at them from that far corner.
So the Brits definitely trying to trap them here. Instead, he's going to shoot a blade across the pitch to no one in particular. I think Jiri Rohiainen was at least the closest receiver, if not necessarily the intended target. Santila was a bit further away, but comes to nothing. Just trying to get out of that coffin corner.
Just a bit too edgy. You do have to, it has to be sort of a high release forehand with not too much edge on it. Yeah, so that the wind doesn't get underneath.
Seeley dish it off to the far sideline, and this GB Dave line will try and get the job done. That time, Bixler did very well to get a hand to it, having been already on his knees, but
is Dave line now damaging the statistics for the GB team, Benji? What's happening?
I kind of think when they're 12-3 up, they won't mind that necessarily. Nice hammer over the top, but it's going to get taken by the wind. The massive hands of Dave Seeley catch that comfortably. The frisbee looks like a toy in his hands. Dave Seeley has it now. Looking for Dave. Doesn't like it. Instead, thinks about the dump to Dave. He does dump it to Dave. Here's Grayson shooting into the end zone for Dave Bixler to put the game on ice for Great Britain. Just a comprehensive victory, showing why they are the class of this division with a 13-3 win.
How does sideline talk work with this setup?
Sometimes I find they just know, like. People with the same name, there's an old Monty Python sketch about like a philosophy department in Australian, and they're all called Bruce, and they just know exactly what everyone's talking. It's like this. Talk about Dave, you don't even need any context. Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're on about.
Well, we always struggle. I mean, I get 2 Annas on my line, and that's it for me. Like, they gotta pick nicknames.
I mean, they probably all do have nicknames. Like when there's so many of you, probably just use the surname, don't you? Be easier in the end. Right, we're going to wrap up here. A pretty quick game showing just how effective GB were on the sand there. Surely gold medal favourites, and expect to see them later on in the tournament. Some of the other fans trying to watch the action on one of the pitches behind us. We're going to take a short break before our next game, last game of the day here on the show pitch, starting at 10 to 6 local time. You can adjust that for wherever you are. Myself and Hannah Pendlebury will be bringing you action from the great Grandmasters division with the legendary Courier Islands taking on the Netherlands, and added bonus for Beach Ultimate fans, Patrick van der Valk's playing.
Ooh, so everybody needs to watch, guys. So please stay tuned. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. And it was Rachel Doshnerova.
And for statistician Brian Toy as well, I've been Benji Reese, and we will see you back on the beach on the other side.